welcome. Cutting the Act, just getting ready to come on live to you as we look at making big inroads into very silent issues, making the rounds on the global scene and also on the national level. On the international scene, we'll be looking at Putin wants the NATO of a World War III. That's what the Russian president, who just won his sixth term in office, is telling NATO. And just to let you know that Vladimir Putin says a direct conflict between Russia and NATO would mean the planet is one step from World War III, according to Reuters. The comment came as Putin claimed a landslide victory in Russia's presidential election with 87.8% of the vote. But meanwhile, the US, Germany, and the UK and other nations have said the election was neither free nor fair due to the imprisonment of political opponents and the censorship in Moscow. Meanwhile, French President Emmanuel Macron previously stated that he could not rule out the possibility of deploying ground troops in Ukraine. And earlier, Putin stated that Russia was technically ready for nuclear war. He said if the United States sent troops to Ukraine, it would be seen as a significant escalation of the conflict in Ukraine. Meanwhile, in response to that, French President Macron stated that Putin should not make threats when his country possesses nuclear weapons. That's a very tough one there. According to the French president, he has not spoken with Putin for several months, and he said such dialogue was held when necessary. And in the United States, the response to Putin's statement, it was noted that they do not see any plans by Russia to use nuclear weapons against Ukraine. So it tells you how strong or how dicey this is for Putin to say if there was a direct conflict between NATO and Russia, it means the world was just a step away from a third world war. So we'll be looking at that issue, what it means to the entire universe. All right, fast forward, we'll also be looking at the national president, Nigeria Labour Congress, in the person of Joe Ajero, has called on the federal government also to pay the 4 months withheld salaries of the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities and also the Non-Academic Staff Union of Educational Associated Institutions, because recently the federal government did pay the arrears 2 months withheld of ASU. So the question is, why pay ASU and not pay SANU and NASU? That's going to be a talking point for us to look at on today's edition of the program, The Desk. Hopefully we'll be getting a lecturer across to help us look at this from a very deeper perspective. Also, the soldier killings is still trending as the flags went on half-mast today as Army began a 3-day mourning of the fallen soldiers. The Armed Forces of Nigeria on Monday began a 3-day national mourning for the 17 soldiers killed by irate youth in Okwama, Ugeli South Local Government Area of Delta State. But just to let you know that among the 17 killed are the commanding officer of the 181 Afibiose Battalion, Ole, Lieutenant Colonel Abdullahi Hassan Ali, the Joint Task Force Commander in Bomadi, Major Gembu Shafa, another major, and a captain. Very sad occurrence there. In this regard, flags were flown at half-mast in all military locations nationwide, and our heart goes out to the fallen soldiers. And we hope the right people would be arrested and not the innocent citizens, as the federal government and the army have decided to do the needful. So we'll be looking at that issue. Also, we'll be taking straight to Edo State, where it's getting more messier for the PDP, as the Edo State House of Assembly has also directed the State Chief Judge, Justice Daniel Okumbowa, to set up a 7-man panel to investigate the allegations leveled against the state deputy governor in person of Philip Shoaibu. So that's going to be one of our talking points as we look at what's going to be panning out in the coming days. These are other interesting stories that we'll be looking at. For the very first time, we will delve into sports a little as we look at the 5 persons that have been shortlisted for the Super Eagles, head coach. So these and other stories we'll be looking at after this break. When we come back, I'll be introducing my guests. Hopefully, one will be joining me via Zoom and the other will be live in the studios here to help us, decipher all these big talking points. That will be after this break. Stay with us. Right, welcome back to the program, The Desk. And after reading out all the top stories, we'll be looking at finally my guest is in the studio, live in the studio. He's not a person, but Toba Owojai is live in the studio. Thank you very much for making it down here.
Pleased to be with you again and again.
All right, let's also welcome Olu Benga George, who is joining us via Zoom. And we've got another person who is likely to be joining us from Uyo, in the person of Aniete Atai, who is the chairperson, Sanu University of Uyo, is also joining us via Zoom. Good evening. Good evening, George.
Good evening, Tony. Good evening, Tony.
All right,
good evening, viewers. It's great to be here.
And Aniete Atai from University of Uyo, thank you very much for also joining us. Hello, Atai. Aniete, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Aniete? All right, we're hoping Aniete can hear me, and also George, you can hear me, right?
Loud
All
and
right,
clear.
we're hoping Anete Atai, the chairperson, SANU, University of Uyo, is also joining us via Zoom so that we can also get her take as regards issues playing out. All right, let's begin our discourse looking at what's playing out on the global scene. We've got Putin, warning that if there's a direct conflict between Russia and NATO, the world is going to be one step away from the Third World War. World War III. Do you think, and we've got Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, telling Putin not to, push those kind of threats when his country has, nuclear weapons also, and the U.S. is calling off the bluff of Putin. Do you think this is a very wise decision of where we are?
I don't think it's a wise decision at all because Putin just won his election with landslide, 88% of votes. That's very high. That's very high for someone who just won an election. So those are things that need to be fixed. He's not someone that should be played with. He's not someone that should be toyed with. He has the military strength. He has the experience. He has the political will. He's a tough man. I think they should have come to a round table on this a long time. The war is dragging so long that the Israeli war has already outshined that war, and even that is fading off again. So it's like they're just looking for new wars and new things to fight over. It's getting really bad.
But the fact that Germany, UK, France, these are also world powers, are saying they do not think the elections were free and fair and credible, does that tell us that hope in the coming days and weeks we are likely to see some political upheaval in Russia also, because they're still talking about, despite the hard stance of Putin, do you think there will be some sinister moves by these countries to oust, Putin?
Yeah, they've tried that before. They brought his best man, who was the head of his rogue squad, yeah. Yes, and they marched into Russia. They had support. That was the biggest attempt they had at him. And why that failed when they got to Russia is what I can't understand. They had already, some parts of the people were already with him as they marched into Russia, and he calmed down. And we knew that once he calmed down, he was dead already. And it was just a matter of time. And he died like we expected. So Putin is not someone you play with, you toy with. This is something that can be settled. What is the grievance? You want this amount of land, you can't get this amount of land. This is what you can get. If you cross this further, it is looking for more conflict. It's like dealing with a child. Make threats you can take and back. Don't tell a child, if you do this, I'll throw you off the stairs. Things you can't do, because it emboldens him to do more. And then you see there's not so much righteousness with Europe and US and the West coming from many of the things that have happened in Africa, from the things happening in Mali and the Francophone countries and Libya. All of that has not given them the credibility to come to be the ones to speak as the power here. I blame Ukraine. Ukraine took a comedian who acted being president on a comedy show. Then he became president.
But do you think he has not done well thus far? Because he has held forth this far, Zelensky.
Yes, but at what cost? How many trillions of dollars do you think has gone down the drain? War is very expensive.
Well, are you saying if he wasn't Zelensky, if it was someone else, the person would have backed down?
No. What I'm saying is war is expensive. The more your war drags out, the more both sides are depleted, except there are other sources backing it up. America and others are backing it, and they are beginning to get the backlash themselves. Why are you spending $350 billion of our money on a war when we are looking for wars here, we are looking for healthcare here? So all of these things is what happens when the war doesn't happen fast and ends fast. Once it drags out, it now becomes a load on everyone.
All right, George, let's get your take as regards what's playing out in Ukraine, and especially with Putin, warning the West, the US, Germany, and UK that especially NATO, if there's a direct conflict between NATO and Russia, it means the world is going to be a step away from World War III. Do you think Putin should be taken seriously?
Okay, well, I do not think by now that we should still be asking if Putin should be taken seriously or not, considering the trend of activities that has happened, especially since the Russia-Ukraine war that started over 2 years ago. More importantly for me is the issue that you just raised, where the Western countries are trying to maintain a position by asking Putin not to threaten because it possesses nuclear weapons. Well, the truth of the matter is, uh, legally, one could say that Putin's hands are tied where the use of the nuclear weapons is concerned, because he was part of the 122 countries that signed in the year 2020, against the
Nuclear.
non-use, yes, nuclear treaty where it's concerned. So maybe that is the law that they are referring to. But if the West, especially Germany, France, and all the other countries that continue to, if they are depending on this treaty, to expect that Putin will not act or will not take action where necessary, then I think they are living in a mirage, because certainly Putin has defied every threat, that the West has put across to it, and I do not think that he is ready to rescind anytime soon on some of the decisions he has made. Rather, he's forging right ahead. So if we move further to talk about his involvement so far, you would realize that for me and all of this, and the threat of World War III, I think it shouldn't be taken, I reiterate again that it should not be taken lightly. Because the first question for me, like I think Mr. Toba said earlier, what is the interest of the West really in all of these issues? The issue was between Ukraine and Russia, and one would have thought that without interruption or interference, that they would have been able to somehow sort themselves out. But the NATO came in and, kind of emboldened Russia and Ukraine, and now the war has gone beyond what they can control, and it doesn't seem to want to stop soon. I mean, looking at the trend of things. Also, Russia is an independent nation. It has its own laws and what have you, and whatever opinions every other nation has can only remain at the level of an opinion, so long as the citizens of that country have not revolted, have not come out or come to seek for help, from the international community. And we haven't seen much of that, of seeing Russian citizens maybe go to the United Nations or shout or go to any other bodies to say, we are in trouble, come and help us. We haven't seen that. As a matter of fact, when the Russia-Ukraine war was at its peak earlier, a lot of people thought that maybe the citizens of Russia were in support of it, but we could see that the citizens were actually in support of their president. So the country had an election, and according to the results of that election, it was a landslide victory. So and more so, let's not forget that Russia is not a democratic state like many of the Western states are. So they have the right to determine what kind of government they run. They have the right to determine how it is being run, and they have the right to select or elect whoever they think deserves to lead them. If Putin have proven to be a leader, that the people can trust over the years, and that is able to protect the integrity and physical territory of their country, then I think the people have the right to continue to support whoever they want until the people cry out and they say, we need help. I do not think that there is need for any interference from any international community, especially NATO and the West in general.
All right, you say you have something to add to
yes, you see, what Putin is trying to do is what no Russian has been able to do for years. Putin wants to put together the USSR. He wants to put together the Soviet Union. And when you have somebody with that large ambition, Ukraine is is largely a part of that plan. So with Russians and others pushing for it, they are somehow permissible to the idea of coming back to what they call USSR. You understand? And Putin is pushing for it. He saved up money for it. In a war, most people lose money in a war, but Putin got richer in a war. This is the problem. The West are even still patronizing him. So these are the issues on ground. They're still patronizing him. So with all of this, he has a very strong hold on what's happening.
All right, let's move away from the international scene. Let's come to the national level. Let's begin from the education sector. And I want to say welcome to the program, Dr. Enete Atai, the chairperson, SANU, University of Uyo. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Good evening, Dr. Enete. All right, I think we missed her out there, but let's get to the talking point. We've got Joe Ajaero,
your friend,
my friend, asking the federal government to pay the 4 months withheld salary. Do you think the government is stoking fire by deliberately paying ASU and leaving out SANU and NASU? Why? What's the justification for that move? Because they all went on strike in 2022. So why pay one party and leave the other?
I agree with you. They may just be stoking with them or buying time. Sometimes government likes people to always have one issue to drag, one small issue to drag, some distraction here and there, while they continue with their business of running the state. It's always good to have a distraction. So it's part of the reasons, but I don't expect them to delay to the pay of the senior officers.
But with this strike action that has crippled universities since Monday, how far do you think SANU and NASU should take it?
I expect the government to pay them off before Monday. I don't think they are a large... I think their fees are high, but I don't know if it's as large as what was paid to the other full ASU staff. So I don't think it's such a big amount. They should pay them.
All right, let's have George. Can you weigh into this talk as regards the SANU's strike action going on currently and how it has affected universities? And do you think the government is buying time like Toba has suggested?
Well, I think it's quite obvious that the government is perhaps trying to buy time. While also trying to, so that they can have a proper negotiation in the payment plan for the Senior Staff Association of Universities of Nigeria. However, I do not think that it is actually called for. I think it's something that whatever is good for the geese is also good for the gander. So SANU should not be separated from NASU, since they have always been a joint body, that have sought the same needs over time. The federal government should once and for all, address the issue of SANU, especially because we cannot afford at this time to have universities shut down like it is already happening. The strike has entered the second day, and one would expect that it is quickly addressed. We're at a time in the country right now where a lot of issues are happening. And if things continue to happen this way, and you now have students also joining their trouble with all the hardship that is going on in the country, I think it might become an unbearable situation for the country and for the people. So government needs to wade in and ensure that students are kept in school so that the social troubles that may generate from that, can quickly be stopped.
All right, let's look at the next talking point, talking about the soldier killings in Delta State. Today, the Army the Armed Forces began a 3-day national mourning for the 17 soldiers killed by the irate youth at Okwama, Ugele South Local Government area of Delta State. Among the 17 killed are the commanding officer of the 181 of Pios Battalion, Ole, Lieutenant Colonel Abdullahi Hassan Ali, and the Joint Task Force Commander in Bomadi, Major Gambo Shafa. Another major and the captain was also killed. For you, I know we were talking about this offset. Looking at the high-profile officers that were killed, does this suggest their moving in was deliberate, or they had interest? Because why so many senior officers moving for a communal clash?
You see, I think they were hoping this would be a peace talk. This could be something that could be resolved by dialogue. Because if they sense that this was
so that means they didn't do that.
They didn't do their intelligence
background check properly.
Yes. No one would throw this amount of officers. Do you know the amount of training that's been on to get them to this rank, experience? So you don't take those amount of people when you want to shoot. You take younger officers. But they went there to the dialogue. They went there to try to persuade the community, but it failed. What I expected them to do was to leave the person they went to take, turn their back and go back, then send younger boys. Very simple. But in my own opinion, this is not a ground for the military. We need a police force that is centrally based in Abuja, a special arms police unit that can be sent to deal with these things on a needs basis. They don't stay in any state. If the issue is in Kaduna, they go to Kaduna. If the issue is in Bayelsa, they go to Bayelsa.
But I thought that was why they have special forces, and also the joint task force was also there. The commanding officer was also there. So why did we have other high-ranking officers join the joint task force?
You know, there's oil. In all of this fight, there's always money. There's always revenue. I believe that there's I believe that there's bunkering going on in that place. Because I don't see what youths would take on decorated soldiers to kill if there's not something there's a big cash cow. Something is up there. People don't just kill top military officers. It doesn't just happen. It's not a normal day activity. So there's a big cash cow somewhere there, and the government needs to take it easy, not go and wipe the whole villages. That's not the solution. Go there, maybe set up a military base there. Stay there with them, try to calm things down, try to find out how, what is the clash between the Urhobo tribe and the Ijaw tribes. Find out what the issues is. This is where they should have started. This is my issue with our country. We always put the cart before the horse. This is where you'll have started. Know what the real issues are, not what somebody said, and then you head there. I feel really sad for the amount of officers we lost.
What a very sad commentary there. Let's get your take, George. Looking at these killings, we're told that it was between Okwama and another community, Ukoloba. And when the Okwama people, three of their youths were killed, they took one Mr. Anthony hostage as bargaining chip, only for that Okoloba people to now call in the army, and this is what we get. How do you see these killings, and also the fact that we had too many top official military men going for this, just a communal clash? Do you think there's an interest somewhere?
Situation. I think it's a very sad situation, first of all. You know, it's a very sad situation, and we pray that God will grant the souls of those who are departed repose and give their families and loved ones fortitude to bear, such humongous loss. It comes to speak to many of the fundamental issues that we continue to experience in this country. I think for me, these issues since it broke out have been bothering my mind, and a lot of questions have been coming. And one of the questions that have been in that state all about, I asked this question because if you look around the country, we understand that this is not the first time in Nigeria where, people, communities, we have disputes over land, all of that. And somehow, they call the traditional rulers, they call, the local people, they call the authorities, and then the governor of the state sits on top of the matter, and before you know what's happening, it's being resolved somehow. But why is it that the case of Okwama and Okoba, could not be resolved? So then secondly, the question that comes to mind for me is, why do we need troops? Why do we need a battalion, to attend to the issue? I thought land disputes were
civil matters,
were communal issues. I mean, were civil matters. Why wasn't the police deployed? I'm not saying the police deserve to die, by the way, but I'm saying, what if the sight, of the military men that appeared actually triggered some kind of, annoyance? Though that is not an excuse, by the way, for such heinous acts. But I'm saying that what if the appearance, of these military people actually triggered some sort of reaction from, the people in that community? For me, we need to check why soldiers are deployed instead of policemen who are supposed to be.
All right, we hope we'll be able to you'll be able to join us back once your the service delivery gets better. Let's quickly jump into the next talking point. We're taking you straight to Edo State, and it's tribal in the news again this evening, as the Edo State House of Assembly has directed the State Chief Judge Justice Daniel Okumbowa to set up a 7-man panel to investigate the allegations leveled against the State Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu. The State Assembly is accusing the Deputy Governor of misconduct and divulging government information to the public. The panel is expected to carry out a thorough investigation into the allegations, then make necessary recommendations. The brief sitting was presided over by Speaker Right Honorable Blessing Agbe-Baku. Recall that the Edo State House of Assembly earlier this month began the impeachment process. You were in Edo State some weeks back. Let's look at what's playing out. Do you think this is a softer stand? Initially, it was straight to impeachment process, but now they are, setting up a committee to have a thorough investigation. Are they trying to give Shaibu a soft landing, or there's a change of mind?
I think if you give him a hard sell impeachment, he may win in court.
Hard sell impeachment?
Yes.
Okay.
Straight up impeachment. He may win in court.
Okay.
And then you may have to now start paying him back every salary he missed and stuff like that. So I think they're trying to do due process. But I've looked at the points raised against him. They're not strong. They're not strong points. Divulging information, government information to the people. What government information does government have that the people
classified information that
shouldn't have? What evidence do you have that he divulged that information?
Okay.
And I'm aware that today he has also gone to court to stop his impeachment. Today, it will be out very soon in the news. So he's also playing smart with it. I think it will drag out for long, which is not what PDP needs.
Is this going to play to the good of the party? Are they trying to also distract him technically too, by bringing up all these issues to keep him busy while elections draws closer?
Sorry, Shaibu is not in the play of this election at all. I think Shaibu is the one who is even gaining some laugh in dragging them out, because he didn't win the election. He wasn't at that election. His own parallel primaries took place in his own parlor. How can you call that where you do the primary? So that alone disqualifies that. But you see, what they wanted to do was, let's free up that space of a deputy governor. Let's get somebody from his own senatorial zone who can give us his full commitment to help us rally votes in the election. So if this drags out for too long, you won't be able to replace him. If you're not able to replace him, you cannot get that person to go and campaign for him. I'm aware that Asue has met him within the week, last week, to see what he can settle one-on-one without press and without any person. I don't know what they've worked out, but Shaibu is really adamant on this. So I really don't see how this plays out.
But if the party does not accept you as the flag bearer, can he do much?
You can drag it out. You see, the court sometimes can be a place where, okay, you set up, you want to give him a notice, and he claims there's no place you can notify him, so that wastes 2 weeks. So when that doesn't happen, they paste it on the notices of
national dailies.
Yes. He says he didn't read it. From there, you now go.
But once it's placed in national daily and is on the news, everybody's talking about it, wouldn't the courts be able to, see that his act is deliberate?
Yes, but the process now starts. The process has started if tried to get judges. He has gone to the federal court and gotten an injunction for the impeachment process to be stopped. These are all things that can happen within the legal framework of our constitution and judiciary. That can drag out for another 3 months, 4 months, and the election is 5 months away. So this is not what you want. You want to be able to have your team do your rallies, have the deputy come on. Let him have some time as deputy. As a matter of fact, if he's coming on, because if the person comes on in August, how much of a deputy is he going to be? So it's something that I expect them to resolve with dialogue.
So obviously, if he gets to the court, it's going to benefit Shaibu more.
If he drags on in court, it benefits him, surely.
All right, I don't know. Okay, George is back with us. George, sorry for that hitch. Let's get your take as regards what's playing out in Edo State, where the State Assembly has also, they've set up a committee as a matter of urgency, to look into the issue. That's the State House of Assembly directing the Chief Judge of the state to set up, a committee to investigate the deputy. For you, what do you think how do you think this is going to play out?
I think, first of all, I like to talk to the substance of the action, which is the fact that, for me, it is political persecution of the deputy governor, and it is totally uncalled for in a democracy. Why is the State Assembly ganging up alongside the governor? Because the governor has maintained the position. Why is the State Assembly dragging themselves along in this struggle? Why can't the state for once show that they are independent? I mean, the State Assembly this time around. Why can't they show that they are independent? Must they always play to the dictates of the governors? This is a trend in our democracy, and I will not stop to condemn this action in its totality and entirety. It calls for serious concern in Nigeria, because if we continue to, dilly-dally over these issues, we might as well accept it as a norm. When it becomes a norm, it means that the governor becomes more and more powerful, and the people becomes less and less powerful. And the role of the deputy governor just becomes the ceremonial role, so to speak. I think it is time that we continue to strengthen our laws.
But don't you think, George, Okay. Sorry not to cut you short, but don't you think the deputy himself also shot himself on the foot when he held a parallel primary in his own house? Is that not breaking the rules too?
Because he knows that is because he knows that he has been wronged by every standard. Normally, there was a free and fair process, that would have produced that. If he lost at the party level, if he knew that in the selection process he was going to go there free and fair, and all the supporters, the party candidates, and what have you within the state, if they did not vote for him, if that was the situation, if it was a fair situation, then you could say that he shouldn't take the law into his hands. But he has already been exempted by no wrong of his. What did he do, really? What is his wrong? By expressing his fundamental human right. I do not have any personal, connection with the state and, the governance, but I'm just pissed, by how this entire process is coming on. It's making, individuals stronger than institutions, and that really, really annoys me in a democracy. I think we are playing a hypocritical democracy where, people just, as long as you have access to power, you become some sort of very untouchable person. It is not right. And that's why I said I will continue to speak to the issues. I know it will not do anything where Shaibu is concerned with this matter. But, going forward, it is something that we should now begin to pay attention to and begin to talk about, seriously across all our social and political platforms. It isn't right, that we continue to have these issues. The governors will rest their influence, and over the political party, over the State Assembly, over the judiciary. I mean, it's really wrong. And if we must continue to practice democracy, then we must desist from this continuous acts that is capable of destroying our democracy. But speaking to the issue, also, I think Mr. Toba already said there, maybe the tribal, if the issue continues to drag the way it is dragging, maybe his chances, might be clearer. But in the sense that, they will not be able to move on with the process, in Edo State to elect a governor when the time comes for the People's Democratic Party and indeed other parties
I would still love
involved.
to chip in that there's a lot that is missing in your information on this. I was at the World Congress, I was at the National Congress, and I was at the primaries. And I've never seen a more, and I've been in politics for 24 years, I've never seen a more fair primaries in all of Nigeria's history. I've never seen a more fair primaries. At the other elections, that the governor doesn't allow anybody buy forms. It happened in Rivers, it happened in many other states. The governor chose who and who to buy forms. Party forms were taken from Wadata here and taken to the government house or PDP of their state, and who they wanted to sell to, they sold to. But the governor allowed every single person go to anywhere, buy their forms, allowed everybody campaign, allowed everybody do what they wanted.
So are you saying the governor is not technically stopping him?
He didn't. Nobody can prove that. The governor gave them a fair chance. The press were
there.
But
what of this move, this impeachment move?
This is what I'm saying.
Initiated by the governor.
5 media houses were there, and 10 newspapers. Channel was there, Arise was there. So what were they hiding? Everything was plain. I was there. Everything was plain.
My own
some stepped down, some didn't step down, some contested, and he lost. And was in his house on that same day. And before they had even started the accreditation, he had done his primaries in his house. So this is what I expected them to swim from. I don't know whether it's right or wrong, but as the deputy governor, you are a joint-tied governor. You shouldn't be the person leading a division that is capable of fomenting trouble in the state. If everybody did the primaries in their house, at every single point they had a different opinion, where would the state be? That would be my grounds for impeachment, not looking for something small. It may not hold, but this is what I would be grieved about. Me, that's what I would be grieved about.
All right, George, you wanted to add something?
Yes, I wanted to say that what my concern really is, all the events that have led to, that primaries, that the deputy governor have witnessed in the state since last year. The move for impeachment didn't just start now. The telling him to sign, that he wasn't going to contest didn't just start now. And I feel, and why I maintain this position for me is that it is a denial of his right as an individual, as a Nigerian.
His right was not denied,
and talk less, talk more it's a denial of his right. I mean, the governor should, you are saying, I don't know where you belong, but the information that we've had since this issue is that he's going through a political persecution in Edo State. That is what the deputy governor is going through, and we should not be a trend that will continue in the state. You made reference to other states, that would not even allow the form. We should not even be talking about things like that, and that's my position. We should not be talking about the governor being so powerful to go to the state, and get the form and make sure that no other person is able to buy it. Then we are not practicing democracy. That's what I wanted to add.
All right, gentlemen, let's move on to the next talking point. We have barely 10 minutes. The next has to do with the financial Binance probe is what we're looking at as court orders disclosure of Nigerian traders' information. The Federal High Court in Abuja on Monday has issued an order compelling Binance Holdings Limited to furnish the EFCC, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, with comprehensive data regarding Nigerian traders on its platform. The court decision stemmed from an ex parte motion filed by the EFCC seeking information on Nigerians engaged in trading activities on the Binance. Do you think this is a fair order, and how well would it go? Because there usually would be a confidential clause, non-disclosure clause for these traders to protect them. Looking at this, how do you think this is going to pan out?
I don't think the government will get anything from it. Why? Because Binance is a
cryptocurrency platform, yes,
which is not supposed to divulge their customers or people they have dealt with. But since on a security level, they may ask the government to bring key names that maybe they are trying to track, and they would help them correlate if that correlates with what they are looking for. You understand? I don't think they'll allow you to just go and fish.
But since they've arrested their key executives, wouldn't they be under duress to, release the names? And because they are facing charges that almost seeming like treason and the security of the nation and the financial mess they've been accused of putting Nigeria currently, wouldn't that make them lose their rights?
It's not even good for Nigeria. You see, whatever you're doing, you have to look at how it's affecting, your image and your policy. Somebody comes to do a close-end business in your place. Now you say he should go, he's willing to go. You're now asking him to divulge information that he's bound by oath not to divulge. These are the issues you're going to have. What I think will play out is they would ask them, if you have particular people of interest, it's called persons of interest. Okay. Give us the list of persons of interest. We will scan it, we'll run it through our database. Whatever matches we have, we'll give to you. That's what's done. We are still lacking in intelligence in this country.
All right, let's look at how this is going to play out. But in terms of data, in terms of wanting to know the money laundering, people who are involved, but do you think it's going to be easy for the EFCC? Because they're saying the top 100 most active persons. How easy would it be for the EFCC to decipher which is for terrorism and which was actually the cryptocurrency transaction that yielded such huge amounts?
If Binance bends, it will be good for EFCC, it will be good for fighting crime, it will be good for fighting Yahoo, okay? You'll be able to see who has been moving the most money and where has it been going to, who gave them money. You will try to see, what you're looking for is a pattern.
Sure.
You're looking for a match, you're looking for something similar to something else. But it's not just a wild goose chase, which is what I'm against. If you do a wild goose chase, you can get burnt. You now check all of that and find out that it's just boys on the street who have made money from it. Just,
all right.
You can get burnt, that's what I'm saying.
All right, George, let's quickly move here for want of time. Let's look at the next talking point, curbing insecurity. Or do you have some quick words as regards the Binance issue?
Well, I wouldn't talk much here. I said what I would have really liked to hammer, which is the fact that I do not think that, they can be gotten under duress. We did not enter a trade agreement or negotiation with Binance in the first place before, they started their trade in Nigeria is purely online, and maybe for the purpose of helping Nigeria to tackle the prevailing issues of crime and all that. They can be made to see reason, but I do not think that if we continue to press so hard like this, that we'll get the result that we seek.
All right, let's go to Sheikh Gumi is alleging that security agencies know the bandits' hideout. Talking about the controversial Islamic scholar Ahmad Gumi has disclosed that security agents know the hideout of bandits. Gumi says security agents who accompanied him during negotiations knew the hideout of the bandits in the northern part of the country. On the identities of the bandits, Gumi said they are mainly herdsmen who are largely Nigerians with few foreigners. The cleric also emphasized the necessity of negotiation with the perpetrators behind the recent abduction of the 287 students from the Kuriga Government Secondary School. Let's look at Sheikh Gumi. This man knows so much, and now he's accusing the security agencies of knowing the hideout. So can we say there's a deliberate attempt by the security agencies, Gumi and others, to allow this to continue to manifest?
I've said it here before, that from December, there's been a rise in insecurity. This is not normal. This is not a normal flow of trends. This is intentional. This is planned. This is strategic. This is meetings. This is calls. This is structure. This is fundings. But unfortunately, Nigeria is a joint pot of nations who are still struggling to gain dominance over the other nations that they have been tied together with. So whenever the power is not with one side, the other side tries to foment problems that makes the other nation ungovernable till power comes back to their hands. When the power is in their hands, they now do the most looting, still retain the insecurities for mining purposes and other things. And when power goes back, they continue that and start making the government bad. So we are in a greed vicious circle.
It's a strong one.
Yes, when the greed vicious circle, where they don't even mind that their people are dying. But you see, what names can you come up with? Are you at the meetings? These are things that happen very much deep in the night and in bushes. That's why I said intelligence is the greatest thing we need to do. If I was the government, I would spend my money on intelligence. And if I get it, I'll find my information, I'll get my facts, I will publish it. If I have the videos, the audios, I will publish it. Whether directly or through social media or leak it, I will publish it. Because the only thing you can do against darkness is to expose it. The only thing you can do against darkness is to expose it. Bring it out into the light. Let people know what's happening, and it will die down.
All right, a good one there. That's how much. George, a quick one. Let's just get your take here before we call it a wrap on the program. Time not our friend. From what Toba has said, obviously, Sheikh Gumi, the security agencies, they know the hideout. Some persons are benefiting from this. He said strategic, deliberate, and all that. For you, can we now say that the Tinubu-led administration is probably not taking this as serious as they sound or should? George, can you hear me?
His frame is freeze.
Okay, I think George is on the... George, can you hear me? Okay, I think we can get... So on the final term, in terms of this insecurity, what should be the way out now? Aside the getting the information now, but the fact that our security agencies are compromised, is there a headway out?
There's a game I see the president trying to play in creating forest rangers. That could work. Also the push for regional policing and vigilantes, that could work. The Southwest, if the Amoteco in the Southwest is allowed to carry arms, and the Southeast creates their own security network and they're allowed to carry arms, and the Northwest creates their own, everybody will be able to, within their scope, provide security for themselves. Because if we provide this on a national level, I told you the issue is that we are a group of nations. We've not agreed that we are a group of nations. When you send a Yoruba man to arrest, that young lady that was killed in the Air Force in Kaduna, she was killed because she was a crazily good fighter and shooter. And they felt like this lady is killing too many people. These are the things that happen when you bring many nations into one pot of soup.
All right, a very sad commentary there. I wish we could continue the discourse about this, how much time is going to allow us to take on today's edition of the program. The desk, always a pleasure having Toba Owojaye in the studio. He gives a very sound and deep analysis of the situation. I want to say thank you very much. Always a pleasure having you in the studio. All right, I'll also say a big thank you to the man out there. Yes, Olubenga George is a journalist. Always a pleasure having you too, George. Thank you for your very passionate analysis of all the talking
Good having you,
we
Mr.
had.
Benga.
And sorry that you got frozen somewhere along the line. But
I asked you a question.
You said...
Yeah, you asked him a question that I wanted his response.
As regards the
Sheikh
the Sheikh Gumi issue, we wanted to get your take as regards the fact that the Sheikh accused the security, but we can get to you on that now.
If I still have time, let me do it in 20 seconds. I want to say
thank you very much, and hopefully tomorrow will be another day for us to talk about this. My name is Anthony Mobodi saying thank you for joining me on the desk.
All right, so what I would say is that